Hello, welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from our homes. Well, Herb and I, Vinnie is coming to us live from a pool hall / the CHGO offices on this rainy Monday. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. We got Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. We have Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ecknerwall23, is our CHGO White Sox community leader. And I'm Sean Anderson, your host. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. And Stephen Nicholas is our producer today. We got a lot to talk about. Again, this team might be 33 games under 500, but they keep giving us topics to talk about. We have Pedro Grifol video on the main topic today. The White Sox sending Oscar Colás down to AAA Charlotte. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the right field saga that's been going on for about 4 years now. And then we'll preview the Royal Series that's coming up because you got a doubleheader tomorrow and then a game on Wednesday. So we'll talk out the remaining series and the importance to the tankathon / draft results order, or the draft lottery order, because the White Sox are kind of closing in, but it really seems clear that they're either going to be third or fourth. The Cardinals have a pretty good cushion behind them, but we'll get to it. We'll talk to you about it a little bit later. But Vinny, you did end up driving to Guaranteed Rate Field today. You talked to Pedro Grifol. The big news is there were, I guess, 4 roster moves made. Carlos Perez comes back. I'm going to forget the pitcher who's now. Garcia.
Davy Garcia.
Davy Garcia. So Davy Garcia and Carlos Perez are on the major league roster now. And then Eduardo Navarro. And
Edgar Navarro. Come on, Sean. Let's go.
I am not going to be able to fill out the Sporkle quiz for the 2023 Chicago White Sox. I'll tell you that much right now. And then Oscar Colás goes down to Charlotte. So let's start there. Is it surprising news? Obviously, we'll have some Pedro Grifol comments on the topic, but to you guys, was it surprising to see Oscar Colás getting sent down here on September 11th?
Yeah, absolutely, because of the date, right? I mean, this is a guy who's been up here again since July 4th, and now here he is with just a handful of games left being sent down to the minors. There's only the schedule, and then just a big league level. It doesn't really any the exception of the main. He baseball player this year, and I think when you're dealing with a guy who's making mistakes on a regular basis in the field, on the bases, not only to be on the big.
Yeah, hold on, Vinny. So we do have fiber internet at our offices, but for some reason, Vinny's absolutely getting screwed right now. You sounded like Mr. Roboto, which was pretty good. Herb, why don't you give your answer, and then maybe Vinny will regroup, and because it sounded very good for the first part, but then you started breaking up there. So Herb, why don't you react, and then we'll see if Vinny can move away. Yeah, so you react here, Herb, and we'll get Vinny situated in a better spot.
It has to be punishment. It's like, this isn't for embarrassment's sake. I mean, what are there, 11 games left in the season? He must have screwed over, and we saw the play yesterday where he bumps into Elvis Andrus. He must have screwed up all the things that they've been teaching him in practice, because you don't want to, by him failing Oscar Colás again for the second time this season, it's their failures. The new general manager, Chris Getz, who was the minor league coordinator for the last 7 years, it's his failure. It's the people who were here before, it's failure. And Pedro's failure and his coaching staff for not getting the message through to Oscar Colás. And it's Oscar Colás's failure for having a second opportunity this year to prove himself as worthy of being that right field solution for the White Sox for the first time in a long time. And he's throwing it away. We'll hear from Pedro a little later, but from what he's saying, like, they've gone hard on him the whole year, and that they don't usually do that. Teams don't like to, discipline people in the public. They'll say, hey, I'll talk to the team and get things straightened out, whatever, to the media, but they have no qualms about getting the message that Oscar Colás is messing up. So this is definitely punishment for him to go down there for 11 games in Charlotte and to be seen in this light. and to be punished for the second time this year. So, yeah, I mean, it had to be done. I think we might have seen the last games of Oscar Colás in a White Sox uniform for a long time, Sean, because you can't go into next year as the guy who's going to take right field. They have to go and get somebody else.
We'll see. I mean, it didn't seem like Pedro was giving up on him like that, but let's go to Pedro Grifol. The first comments that he made was that Colás is still an impactful player, that he thinks that he's still going to impact the White Sox roster in the future. But here is what he thinks Oscar Colás needs to do.
He's just got to go down there and really, really work on those things, work on his plate discipline, work on, not chasing as much, control the strike zone, just concentrate on good at-bats and spraying the ball around. And that's just on the offensive side. On the defensive side, there's a lot of cleaning up to do, and then on the base running side, the same. I mean, all the way around, there's like I said, impactful ability to help us win here. So we're going to take advantage of every situation we can take advantage of to help them in that regard, which in long term will help us.
Oh, I'm muted. So right there, I don't know if it's punishment per se, but needs to clean everything up. And we talked a month ago. Pedro was making comments saying that he needs to turn the volume down. Basically, that he was playing at too much of a high speed. And you hear Pedro talk there about the fundamentals, about cleaning up his plate discipline, cleaning up the defense, cleaning up the base running, like top to bottom. He just needs to be a better baseball player. And I don't know about the word punishment. You bring up the word punishment earlier. I'm not sure about punishment, but I do think that was probably the final straw, almost breaking Elvis Andrus's wrist right there in Detroit on Sunday. It seemed just egregious when it happened. And like you said, I mean, like there's been a lot of comments, whether it be turning down the volume for a guy that won the opening day starting roster in 2023. I mean, they had the banner outside G-Rate. Like you see Yohan Moncada taking a nice little big healthy hack. You see Tim Anderson, and then there's Oscar Colás. Dude hasn't even played yet, and he's already getting himself a banner. There was a lot of expectations, and I mean, we can even go back all the way to November, where Rick Hahn, the guy that's not in charge right now, not making the decision to send him down to AAA. It's obviously Chris Getz now that Hahn's been fired. But I mean, we remember even back in November, hey there, Vinny, back in November, Rick Hahn telling everyone that, hey, Oscar Colás is likely going to be on our opening day roster. Vinny, if you want to add in some comments here, whether about the surprising nature, we just heard from Pedro talking about what Oscar Colás needs to do, go down there and clean up, even though he's an impactful player. And we're also just talking about how this guy was seemingly the opening day solution, to start off this year.
Yeah, I mean, they gave him the everyday job in spring training, and they saw what kind of player he was in spring training. And, it was a question of mine today to Pedro, which was, this guy has won a job. He beat out not just Gavin Sheets, but theoretically everybody that was competing for an outfield job in the spring. Where did all this issue come from where the guy can't play Major League Baseball, where the guy's making mistakes on a near daily basis? And Pedro basically said, yeah, it didn't surprise us, but we just thought we could clean it up. I mean, you just talked about the comments from Rick Hahn going all the way back to last November. They basically crowned this guy the everyday right fielder. Obviously, they were willing to have a competition in the spring, but he did everything supposedly that they wanted to see in the spring. Does that include not being able to field his position? Does that include not being able to communicate with his teammates, screwing up on the bases, overthrowing the cutoff man, waltzing over to some of these balls that are hit to him, dropping a ground ball that's hit to him, I mean, multiple times this year? I mean, this is a guy who really did not look like a Major League Baseball player. And so the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, of course they sent him down. He's not good. He's not able to play the game the way that they want him to play it. But then it's like, well, wait a minute. He got 3.5 months worth of big league time this year. You based your offseason basically around this guy being able to be your everyday right fielder. This failed pretty horribly. And, that they are now taking the measure of sending him down for 11 games. Like, what's he going to do in 11 games? And, I don't know what you're going to play or not from Pedro from what he said today, but people are going to be mad again to hear that the explanation that Pedro is giving is they want to win these games that they've got left on the schedule. They're out of it. They're out of playoff contention. And listen, I'm not trying to say, don't take any pride in your job. You want to win, go ahead and win, but give me something, give me an answer that's different than it's gotten to the point where it's affecting our ability to win a game. It's been affecting your ability to win a game since opening day.
Well, and let's go to clip 4 then, just because you said people are going to be mad that I cut off the clip of, why now? Herb brought up the idea of punishment.
They'll actually be happy because I think that playing the clip is probably what's going to make them irritated.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, this is honestly the presser that I thought Pedro showed the most life or personality. But he just said, even though we're 33 games under 500, we this isn't a place for I forget the exact word that he used. Let's go to clip 4. Maybe he uses it here. But we're basically hearing about what they're going to try to do this offseason for Colás, and expectations for 2024 for Colás. And then Vinny's going to ask him an important question.
We'll talk to him again and give him a plan for the offseason. Hopefully he accepts an assignment to go to winter ball. I think it's extremely important for him to play winter ball, and then get ready for spring training and try to win a job.
He won a job in spring training. When did all these fundamental issues kind of pop up? Was that a surprise to you guys once the season started?
It wasn't a surprise. These are things that we thought that we can continue to work on up here, and adjustments would be made. He went down, we sent him down. He made some of those adjustments in AAA, came back up here, and sometimes you can see adjustments, sometimes you couldn't. Some of the mistakes kept reoccurring. Again, this has nothing to do with tools. This is sharpening his toolbox to be able to come up here and play consistent baseball, detailed baseball, fundamentally sound baseball, and be a part of this moving forward.
I love a sharp toolbox. I mean, it's always important to have your toolbox as sharp as possible. But I think that the idea that he wasn't making the proper adjustments, I think that there possibly was a cockiness issue here with Oscar Colás. Herb brought up the idea with punishment. I was looking around just in our old media, just trying to find out what were people saying from spring training. And you had a clip, a short from day 7. And it was very fitting because you ended up with an Eloy Jimenez home run. He said, I'll see you in Chicago. And he hasn't hit any home runs this year, which has been great. The second thing was Gavin Sheets has been working very hard on his defense, and he's going to be fighting for the right field job. And the first thing was about how confident Oscar Colás was meeting you guys on the first day of spring training. You said his confidence was familiar to Eloy and Luis, and he said that his defense was excellent. And of course, he spent enough time in the minor leagues. We hyped up the Japan experience, and we have a clip from Pedro here. I'm going to play one more clip. This is going to be the last of the clips, and then we'll get to Vinny and Herb's thoughts, and I'll shut up for a bit here. But I thought this was the final clip that I thought was interesting. Bruce Levine asked the question, but it's about the experience in Japan for Colás. And that's clip 2. I'm sorry if I'm throwing you off here.
Is it a fair question to ask how a guy gets to age 26, experience in Japan, and still has so much work to do to be a major league player? You know what? I think it is a fair question to ask, and my answer to that is I don't know. I don't know what he did in Japan, the instruction in Japan. I don't know what he did prior to that. I know what we saw here, and I know the work that was put in, and fundamentally he still needs a lot of work, and this is the big leagues. I mean, we can make mistakes here, and I'm okay with that, but we got to eliminate the amount of mistakes that we make on a daily basis, and if you can't eliminate that here, then you have to go down there and work on them down there, and that's where we're at. Again, this is not attacking the tools or anything like that. The tools are impactful tools that can help us,
That's why we've made this decision to send him down there and talk with our coaches in AAA, and hopefully he goes and plays winter ball and continues to develop his the fundamentals on the field. It's not about getting stronger. It's not about his arm getting stronger. It's about just the details of the game that we need to continue to attack.
What do we make of the consistent errors, the consistent mistakes, the building of mistakes in the clips we played here?
I mean, he said that this player still needs a lot of fundamental work. Then, I mean, he didn't forget all the fundamentals from the spring. He obviously needed a lot of fundamental work then, right? I mean, that would be my conclusion. I could be wrong. Maybe he did play a lot differently in the spring than he did throughout the season. But you had the entirety of spring training and now 3.5 months of Major League Baseball, and you're saying that he needs a lot of fundamental work. Then why was he on the team? Then why was he the starting right fielder? What this does is it strikes me, and again, I could be wrong, but it strikes me as the same thing that we saw over the last 2 years with this team, which was they were supposed to be such an offensive force that it's okay that they weren't the best defensively, or that they ended up being one of the worst defensively. It's okay, right? They can make mental mistakes, base running errors, that kind of thing, because they're going to hit so many home runs that it won't matter. They're going to win every game by 10 runs. It doesn't matter if they are poor on the defensive end. And then here we've got an individual, right? That was the macro. Here's the micro of that, where they said, well, right field will be fine. It's okay. He needs fundamental work. Yeah, sure. But he can learn that over the course of the year. He's going to be hitting so many home runs. It's just going to, and throwing out so many guys on the bases that it's going to be fine. And it obviously wasn't fine for the team in the macro sense. It obviously wasn't fine for the player in the micro sense. And you've basically got, at the end of his rookie season, the manager standing there saying he's not capable of being a major league player at this moment, the way he is. Now, I go ahead and I ask Pedro too. He keeps talking about winter ball and all the stuff that they want him to do this offseason. And I say, well, can he be ready to be that player that you want him to be come opening day next year, come spring training next year? Can he accomplish everything you want him to accomplish in one offseason? And he's like, we'll see. It's up to him. Hopefully he does it well. Well, then that to me says that Chris Getz has got to go get a new right fielder this offseason, right? So let's add that to the 3 starting pitchers and all the bullpen arms and maybe a second baseman and maybe another catcher that he's got to go get as well. That seems to be an awful lot. And granted, Chris Getz was not the general manager who said Oscar Colás is going to be the opening day right fielder almost a year ago in November. Chris Getz is not the guy who was in charge of putting this roster together for the spring when Oscar Colás won the job. But now Chris Getz is the guy who has the task, and an unenviable one, I might add, of adding so many players to try to make this team competitive next year, because right now it is going to take, per Pedro's own explanation, a gargantuan effort on Oscar Colás's part to become the major league caliber player who plays the fundamental baseball that he and Chris Getz want to see everybody on this team playing by the time spring training rolls around next year.
Yeah, that's like you said, Vinny. I think they're going to be having to go out and pay one of these right fielders who are out in the free agent market this offseason, because you can't. And I said before, Vinny, that this seems to me as punishment because there's still lack of games left. What are you going to learn in 11 games? Like, if you had like a half a season, I'll get you there. But 11 games to me seems like, hey, this dude is being so disruptive or not listening to what we're saying that he's got to go down there, and we got to do this for the second time this year. Like, you got to go and get a veteran out there that is of the culture that Pedro wants to build, because trust me, I don't believe in Pedro right now. His words are coming off hollow. He says one thing, and then the other thing happens a couple days later, goes back on his word. Like, those type of things are making me have no faith in the man, but he's going to be here for the most part. They said it. So if they're here, let's go with Pedro's way. So, let's get the players that he wants here. Those type of energy players, the not the David Ecksteins of the world, because that's Jerry's vision.
Come on.
Get some type of player that Pedro likes. If you got to go and do the garbage royal thing, do it. I don't know, because I know this is going to be bad no matter what. So I might as well go along with what this bad plan they're going to have. As Vinny said, the grocery list is long for any general manager who was a veteran, let alone a guy who's never done the job before. That's gargantuan. I cannot believe we're in this situation right now. But I mean, everything that goes wrong, everything that can go wrong is going wrong with the White Sox. This is unbelievable. Another thing going wrong. There's no bottom here. Like, we have another person we got to add to the list, because Oscar Colás, I don't think he's going to play, maybe not at all, or ever again for the White Sox. He's been sent down twice, because you don't like to do this, Sean. Like, when's the last guy that was a big-time prospect got sent down? They let Roy have his struggles. They let Luis have his struggles. They were signed to big-time deals. They let Andrew Vaughn have his struggles. And this guy, he's not listening, and they've reached a boiling point with him, and I don't think he's going to be back for a long time.
Well, I don't think he's back if he doesn't go to Winter Ball. I mean, it's very clear that, I mean, there was 2 different clips where Pedro Grifol is saying, I hope he accepts an invitation to Winter Ball. If he does not go and play, I don't think he's going to have the at least the, you know, what's it called? The hand of the manager. I don't think Pedro's going to want to put him in right field. He said it's going to be a competition. And that's the thing. I mean, you say that you want them to go spend in right field. It's just not going to happen. I mean, come on. I mean, Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams were children of Jerry Reinsdorf, and they couldn't shake money out of that tree. There was no way that they're going to go out and sign a right fielder for 2024. It's going to be Oscar Colás. It's going to be Gavin Sheets. And then dust off your favorite 34-year-old right fielder to come on down. Let's put up the stats for right field since 2020, Steven. All right, let's see how good this has been, because it's been a clear hole since, I mean, even before 2020. But we'll just start with 2020. Who is the opening day right fielder for the 2020 White Sox?
Nomar Mazara.
Yes. Didn't start the first game.
Didn't start the first game.
Larry Garcia.
First game. Nope.
John Jay.
Nope.
Oh boy.
Yep.
This is quite the quiz.
He started the first 3 games. Nomar Mazara didn't start a game until the 11th game of the season.
Nick Williams?
Nope.
That was that's 2021.
I mean, no. Take your time.
Boy.
I'm never going to get this.
It's not. I mean,
they traded for Nomar Mazara.
They did.
Nicky Delmonico.
Nicky Delmonico started the first 3 games for the Chicago White Sox.
Oh my God.
In 2020. So I just a little bit here. Okay, so let's look at 2020. Nicky Delmonico and Nomar Mazara started the most games in right field. They were tied for 17th in FWAR at 0.8. They had 80 weighted runs created plus, 24th in major leagues. You think, oh, it can't get worse than that. Nomar Mazara, I remember that was such a bad trade. They traded only Steele Walker. Okay, so it really didn't bite them that much, because they didn't really put that much into right field. Right field was so bad, right? Oh, how did it get worse? They spent $7 million. Oh yeah, on Adam Eaton. 0.3 FWAR, 26th in the major leagues, 96 weighted runs created plus at 20th. Thank you to Brian Goodwin. Thank you to Nick Williams. Right? I mean, those were the reasons why they won 93 games, was because right field, they were able to find some scrap heap to be able to throw in when Adam Eaton didn't work. Then 2022, it was AJ Pollock that was acquired for the hefty price of Craig Kimbrell. And what did he do? Oh yeah, nothing. Negative 0.7 FWAR, which was 30th in Major League Baseball. Also, if I remember correctly, he didn't even play that much in right field.
Hardly at all.
Yeah, AJ
I think he was their opening day right fielder, and then he just moved to left for the rest of the year, basically. 77 games in left field. And then Gavin Sheets was their right fielder in 2022 for the most games. It's 78. It is 96 weighted runs created plus, tied for 17th. And then this year, negative 2.6 FWAR, 30th in the majors. There's not a team with a position FWAR in right field below 1, and they are at negative 2.5. Basically, worst in baseball. 56 weighted runs created plus, worst in baseball. They haven't gone out and spent after any of these years. What is giving you faith that they're going to spend now? Again, my whole big thing with Chris Getz is he's getting this job. He's inexperienced, and he is getting this just gift from Jerry Reinsdorf. The last thing that I think that he's going to get from Jerry Reinsdorf after he gets this gift of a job is more money. There's no way. I mean, the only way, and I think Herb's going to agree with me here, is that you look at the cupboard and realize that there's nothing in there either, and that you have to field the team. Because
there hasn't been anything in the cupboard.
Sean, the managers of those teams weren't constantly telling you how much Nomar Mazara couldn't play baseball, how much Adam Eaton was unable to do his job, even though they DFA'd him after just 2 months. They weren't sitting there. They applauded every effort of Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets to play those positions, even though they were playing out of position. The manager of this team has told you on a daily basis that Oscar Colás is not fundamentally capable of playing Major League Baseball right now, which is why don't forget, I should say, Pedro Grifol didn't send him down to the minor leagues today. Chris Getz did. And so, I understand what you're saying, and I brought it up. Hey, they've got so much to do. They might not be able to address every single one of those holes, right? You've only got so many fingers that you can plug in the leaking ship. You might not be able to get to that one. But if you've got the front office making a big statement today in sending Colás down to the minors, and you've got the manager of the team who has made months worth of statements telling you why this guy cannot be the guy. If you think they're going to go out and sign some, to use your words, 34-year-old guy to the minimum contract just to play innings, that to me seems more realistic than Colás right now getting this job for the second year in a row, because they just watched him for 3.5 months and couldn't believe what they saw, to the point of sending him down with 3 weeks left in the season.
I'm not trying to advocate for Oscar Colás to be the starting right fielder in 2024. I'm just saying that Pedro Grifol said that there will be a competition in 2024. I just think that competition will include Oscar Colás. I think it will include Gavin Sheets, and I think it will include, Whit Merrifield, if we want to go with whoever Lee Greer is saying in the chat. I can never read things backwards. Herb, jump in.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to believe that they're going to really do this. Like, they're going to be going into next year with a competition. I think you just said that so, even if they get a free agent, guys, like, yeah, we're still competition. We always are about competition in spring training. I think they're probably going to wipe their hands. I mean, how do you do this? It's an indictment on your teachings, Pedro Grifol. It's an indictment also on Chris Getz and the minor league staff. So how do you say, okay, we want to do it for another time, a third time's the charm type of thing, and hope the guy gets it down in the minor leagues, the 11 games, and then goes to a preferred winter league team, which he's probably, if he's all cocky and arrogant and talking all the smack, he probably wants to chill out, have some time off, kick it in the offseason, not go to winter ball, have a good offseason after his first full major league season. But it seems like they want him to go to the winter ball so they can control his workouts, make sure that he's doing the things that they want him to do, and get some eyes on him. As we heard with Chris Getz, they're going to try to have people, call him on the phone. Hey, you doing those workouts? Going down there, flying down to where he's at. Hey, you on your stuff? You doing your stadiums? You're doing your stadiums? Let's go.
Let's not forget, Herb. He was one of the guys that worked out with this major league coaching staff during the winter. It was down in Miami, I would assume, where it was Romy Gonzalez and Oscar Colás in the cage with these guys. I mean, I'm not bringing it up as a joke. I mean, that's a thing that happened. And so even after that, even after a whole spring, they gave him the job. They gave him the everyday job. They knew what kind of player he was when they gave him the job. And so that's why I feel like it's a result of the front office looking at this and saying, and it's a front office, of course, that isn't employed with this team anymore, the top two guys in it at least, looking at it and saying, this is the guy we've invested in. This is the guy who has this supposedly immense talent, and he's a guy who we've heard is an advanced prospect. Remember, this guy's 26 years old, as Bruce brought up there, and you've got the manager of the team saying at the end of the year, I don't know how that happened, that he's a 26-year-old that played in Japan and he can't do these things. Like, this is a pretty serious indictment from this manager. It has been, obviously, for months. That's, people realize, they're saying it in the comments. Boy, Pedro sure said a lot of bad things about the game that Oscar Colás was playing. It's a pretty serious indictment of a guy that they believed in enough that they were talking about him at the beginning of last offseason as the guy. They gave him the job anyway, probably because what's your alternative, right? But I mean, it's very clearly now an item on the to-do list. And if that item ends with, well, hopefully Oscar Colás got better this winter, I don't think you're going to have a lot of believers until, and that might even include this coaching staff, until he goes out there and actually shows that a winter ball or an offseason of hard work actually made any difference.
Yeah, and then the final thing I wanted to add here was from Sox Twitter Cohen. And if you want to flash this, you can follow Sox Twitter Cohen at Sox Twitter, but Twitter is with a 3 for an E. I think that's the best way I could describe it. You got the outs above average graphics, Stephen. The most damning part, though, is, and this is what Sox Twitter Cohen writes, the most damning part of the season for Colás was that he didn't even provide a boost defensively over Kevin Sheets, which would have been a slam dunk. And you could see there, outside of Luis Robert Jr., no one is a good defender. And again, we're harping on this. Heading into the 2022 season, heading into the 2023 season, we thought it was of importance to Pedro Grifol, defense for this team. And outside of Luis Robert Jr., who already has or should have had a Gold Glove, has a Gold Glove in his trophy case, everyone's at 0. And no one sticks out. Sheets is at a 0, outs above average. Colás is at an outs above average of 0. Clint Frazier, Romy Gonzalez, Zach Remillard, they're at -2. Just ugly to see what Colás wasn't able to do. And again, they talk about the tools. He has speed, he has the arm, he has power. It's just all about cleaning that up. And again, it is shocking that this player is 26 years old, just does not have it figured out yet. And I think it is just a mentality thing where, my shit doesn't stink. And, I've spent too much time in the minor leagues. I'm, Cuban Ohtani, and it just doesn't work out. And he's, it's sticking Elvis Andrus.
I don't think that the things that he's said, at least to us, have revealed that sort of mindset. And so I would be cautious to put that on the guy. I think he's a guy who, at least from what I've seen, very much follows around the guys that you expect. He's talked greatly about the, if you want to use the word mentorship or leadership that he's gotten from Luis Robert Jr., and it hasn't seemed like a guy who is having those sorts of issues, at least in the words that he's said to us. If anything, it's the opposite, right? And it's Pedro talking about nerves and anxiety coming up and maybe the lights being a little bit too bright for him at the major league level. Those are the words that we've heard. I can't speak to every single action that happens behind closed doors, but I would say that it's just, you show those defensive stats. It's glaring in my opinion. I mean, what was the thing that they went out to do this last offseason? Solve some defensive problems. Where were the only places they addressed that? In the outfield, supposedly, with Andrew Benintendi and with Oscar Colás. What you're showing there is that neither of those guys have made a very big defensive impact at all. And Colás, the guy who was supposed to be part of that defensive upgrade, at least anecdotally, from what you watch, has been a huge detriment with the errors that he's making and the mistakes that he's making out there. So it's again, there's another thing that goes on Chris Getz's to-do list for the offseason. Defensive improvement, not just in the outfield, but everywhere. That's one of those general needs that goes with all the other positional needs that he's already got.
Is this more on the player or is this more on the organization and coaching staff? I'll leave that as their final question. We'll take an ad break and then we'll talk a little bit about the Royals, White Sox, and tanking.
Before I answer that, Sean, can't believe you didn't take that layup right there. You had Andrew Benintendi with -11 outs above average, and
didn't you see his eyes go up? Didn't you see his eyebrows go up when I brought up Benintendi? Yeah. It was there. It was there. It was subtle. It was subtle.
You had
it was there. He did it. He you know what he did is that he waited for everybody to leave the playground and then he just popped it in there right away. He just didn't want people to see it this time.
Yeah, right. I mean, I can dunk. Not everyone needs to see it every day. Lee Greer, kind of did it for me. How much did we give Benintendi again? 1 year, $3 million. Oh, right. 5 for $75 million. I love that Jerry Reinsdorf has, issues with spending 10 years on a pitcher. They're not going to sign Shohei Ohtani, but they actually can't pay a player who is confident swinging a bat and hasn't been confident swinging a bat for 5 years. Sorry. And I think it was fair that Vinny stepped in and said that because, again, I'm not in the clubhouse. Vinny is, so he knows more about Oscar Colás and his demeanor than I do.
It's on the organization. If we're choosing between who's to blame more, they signed this guy and understand the player he was. He didn't all of a sudden become a brash know-it-all who, is not listening to coaching in the major leagues. He was doing that throughout. Like they probably got intel from Cuba, Japan, and then when he was in their system that, this guy is this way, he's not, listening to too much of our stuff, but he's got immense talent. You saw the talent last year. It showed out. Like, he was looking to get called up last year. As Vinny said, they talked him up big time. And the stats were also there for Oscar Colás. And I thought, they should have had him make him do some like ass-kickingly great stuff in 2023 in AAA to make them call him up, but get a guy, as the 34-year-old guy actually makes sense now, Sean. Like, if getting a guy that's kind of a placeholder, if you think that Oscar Colás is the future back in 2022, that's what you would have did if I was them, and make you put him in the major leagues, not the other way around, which seemed like a rush job because that was his first full year playing in the minor league system in the major leagues. I mean, in the major league organization. So they rushed him up here. Development, of course, wasn't done. He didn't just lose all the development they had up to that point and then lost it all when he got to the majors and then got sent down and then regained it all and then got sent back down. Like, he was always this player. And it's on them to not pick somebody over him and have an actual meritocracy in right field where he's not going against Gavin Sheets, have a real right fielder. And if he beats him out, cool, I'm in. But he didn't even he beat Gavin Sheets out. Who cares? Gavin Sheets is not a good Major League Baseball player. He's a 4A player. So it's all on the organization who thought this guy could be a good Major League Baseball player this year with all the pressure that came with the right field situation with the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's really any other answer than that it's the organization right now. I mean, it'd be one thing if this was the Adam Eaton situation or the Nomar Mazar situation, a guy who has had success at the major league level. They decided to pay for that past success, and then, oops, it didn't repeat itself, right? That is not all their fault. That is the player not performing, right? This is certainly the player not performing, and so he deserves plenty of blame as well. But this is them looking at the results of minor league baseball and saying, that's our guy. That's our everyday right fielder next year. And it did not work. They, like I said, they knew who this guy was in the spring. Pedro Grifol and this coaching staff saw who this guy was in the spring. And maybe it wasn't up to them because, again, like I said, who are they going to advocate for besides this guy? But they knew who this guy was in the spring, and then they let him play 3.5 months of Major League Baseball this year with not being ready to play Major League Baseball really at all because of the amount of mistakes that he was making and the frequency with which he was making them.
Absolutely. And I got some more, but we got to take a break because we're 38 minutes into this topic. Woof. All right. Let's let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevy. Our guy Adam Hogue was just up there for the Ray CDJR grand reopening this weekend. But if you are in the market for a new or used Chevy, or new or used vehicle, if you are, then we have some great news for you because Ray Chevy in Fox Lake has just joined the CHGO team. And when we were up there, when we first launched with Ray, when Adam was up there, he learned about the Ray price promise, and it's a guarantee that the price you see online is the price you pay when you go into the dealership. And they found that in many cases, the dealers will raise the price on you when you come into the dealership, saying things like, are you a recent college grad? Are you active in the military? Are you a farmer? And in most cases, the answers will be no. And that's when other dealers will raise the price on you, saying the price online included limited rebates that you do not qualify for. Well, at Ray, that's not the case. The price you see online is the price you pay with no add-ons to the price ever. And in fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for which you may make, which may make the price lower than you see online. As one of the top selling dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories and save big at Ray Chevy because they have now over 100 Chevy Trax models available starting at $21,495. And now through September 30th, all buyers can qualify for 0% financing, make 0 payments until 2024, plus put no money down, and best of all, pay 0 hidden fees with the Ray price promise. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com, serving the community since 1963. Find new roads. Also, I want to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. Our guy Cody was heading out to Denver, and hey, the Cubs called up top prospect Pete Crow Armstrong. So now he's probably rushing to his phone, going to Game Time. He didn't have plans, I think, to go to the Rockies games, but hey, he's got the Game Time app on his phone, and now he's not worrying because he's going to get into that game the fastest and easiest way with our friends over at Game Time. It's the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Don't worry, because you can just go to Game Time. Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And Herb got the Game Time guarantee down in Atlanta and was credited his money within 12 minutes. They have super fast customer support, and they will always be taking care of you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That's code CHGO for $20 off using the Game Time app. All right. So today, this game got canceled. A rain delay. I'm going to play 2 tomorrow. First game is starting at 3:40, right?
That is correct. 3:40 first pitch for game 1 on Tuesday. Game 2 will be about a half hour after it ends, though not before 6:40. So given that pitch clock, I would probably expect 3:40 and 6:40, but we'll see how that goes.
And I am assuming Dylan Cease will still be starting game 1.
Dylan Cease game 1, Tukey Toussaint game 2.
All right, and then Brady Singer game 1 for the Royals, Jordan Lyles for the Royals in game 2. So we'll have a post game for you tomorrow. Let's go to the chat first because we'll go to the tank stuff and then we'll preview the games coming up. Vince says, "Great show, guys." Thanks, Vince. One of my friends said the Sox aren't eligible for a top 5 pick. That's not true, is it? I know the rules have changed a bit. So the White Sox will get a top 5 pick, or I don't know if they'll get if they're guaranteed to get a top 5 pick, but if they get a top 10 pick this year, next year, even if they have the worst record in Major League Baseball, with the amount of money that they spend in the 2025 draft, the highest pick that they can have if they get a top 10 pick this year will be 10. So they are capped next year for the position that they can be in at the MLB draft. So they're not in trouble this year. They're fine for the 2024 draft. They have no restrictions because they just picked 17th, right? 15th in this last draft, taking Jacob Gonzalez out of Ole Miss. So there is no cap here. So let's go to the Tankathon standings that I sent to you, Steven. No fun, goofy tank graphic because we're on StreamYard. So sorry about that, folks. But right now, here are the 4 teams that are most important. They're the teams that are and have been eliminated from playoff contention. The Cardinals are about 19 games back. So they still got like about an 8-game cushion, maybe 7-game cushion from the Sox in that 4th to 5th place. Someone said, just have to tank for the number 1 overall pick. That's not really possible with the White Sox. I guess they haven't been eliminated from number 1 pick standings, but the Royals are in quote unquote first place. They're 44-100. The A's are second. They're 44-99. So they're half game back of the Royals from having the top lottery slot or the highest odds to get the number 1 overall pick. The Rockies are at 3rd at 51-91. They're 8 games back. And the White Sox are 55-88, 11.5 games back, but they're welcoming in the Kansas City Royals. And we saw the Royals handle the White Sox fairly well as of late. So, I mean, you can increase your odds. You want to get top 3. I mean, do we think that the Royals might have an edge here because they're trying to get to at least 50 wins this year, and the White Sox are one of the last easy teams on the schedule? I mean, we haven't seen a ton of fight from the White Sox, but I mean, Pedro Grifol said that, hey, we want to win games. This isn't a place for development. Oscar Colás, go down to Charlotte. So, I mean, what do we expect out of this matchup between 2 of the MLB's worst?
I expect the Royals to give the White Sox all they can handle all the time. It doesn't matter whether the White Sox are good or bad. The Royals and their record doesn't matter either. This year, 5-5. These last games, 3 games will decide this season series. Again, where the White Sox have lost the last 2 season series versus the Royals, no matter success or failure. 2021 success, 2022 failure, but still the Royals are consistently in the White Sox. So Yeah, the White Sox can get down to a lower level and secure that 3. The Colorado Rockies have something to play for right now. They have the Cubs hosting PCA and maybe his major league debut. That's a big time thing for those players. Like, we got a little bit more juice in our step because that place is going to be filled with Cub fans out there looking for the team to continue on their successful ride. So I think the White Sox maybe have an inside track for that 3 because we've seen how badly they've played since the trade deadline this whole year. There's no bottom, Sean. There's no bottom, Vinny.
You guys know how I feel on the Tankathon topic here when it comes to Major League Baseball. They're all lottery tickets, guys. All of these are lottery tickets, and sure, you'd rather have the number 1 lottery ticket than all the other 29. But let's be honest. Who are they playing for? What are they playing for? If you get the number 1 pick, congratulations. You have the number 1 pick. The White Sox are still going to have a very high draft pick. They should get themselves a very good player, but that all depends on how the cookie crumbles, right? I mean, they had a top 5 pick. Nick Madrigal, they're not even part of the organization anymore. Oof. Andrew Vaughn, they still think the world of, but he's taking a while to become that player here at the major league level. How many times do we have to bring up where Mike Trout was drafted? How many times do we have to bring up the number of teams that passed on Mike Trout? You cannot grade a draft until 10 years down the road, let alone grade, how good it was that teams angled for a certain player. It just doesn't work that way in baseball. So when it comes to playing for something, I truly believe, and you're going to laugh at me because I'm going to sound like Pedro, but my point is I believe that these guys, that Pedro and these players and even the team would rather go out and win a game and try to win a game than they would think about, what if we get the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick? It's just not how baseball works out. And so that's my thoughts on that.
If I have to choose whether Dylan Cease goes out and pitches a complete game shutout, or hey, I'd take 7 innings of light work, that, or lose 3 and move up in the Tankathon standings, I'll take a win from Dylan Cease. Like, I'd rather see wins from these guys on the actual roster. We know that Andrew Vaughn likes to hit against Jordan Lyles, so hey, go eat, go hit a double, go hit a homer, have a nice day for yourself. I'd rather see wins on the field because you're right. The way that the whole draft works out too. I mean, you can go back to when the Pirates selected Henry Davis. Half the reason they took Henry Davis was because he was cheaper to sign. So, I mean, could you imagine winning the lottery and then just taking a lower payout because you just because you're the Pirates? Like, I don't know. I usually you go after the best player, but best player and slot and draft strategy usually never align. It's not like the NBA draft where you're just going to get, LeBron James. It's not going to be like the NHL draft where you're going to get Connor Bedard. It's just not, it's not like the NFL where we can get Caleb Williams. Like, there's just not that type of game changer unless you're getting a Strasburg or a Paul Skeens level arm. And hey, we see how those guys are dealing with arm issues right now. They could burn out very quickly. So I would rather see the 2023 White Sox succeed and, them be a 4th for the draft lottery than, be number 1 or have a top 3 chance.
Well, and two, the whole reason we think about that whole tanking idea to get the top pick, it's so next year can be better, right? It's like, hey, if you're an NBA team, hey, if you're an NFL team, yeah, maybe it's better for your chances in the immediate to lose these games than it is to win them, because guess what? Next year you add that guy and you could be a playoff team next year. Baseball, you're playing for you're going to tank a few games in 2023, so your chances of winning are better in 2029. Like when the guy finally comes up to the big leagues and you have no idea what your roster even looks like at that point. Like you're not quote unquote tanking for the immediate benefit. You're tanking for the hope that the guy that you draft next year will be any good and be any good 4 years from now.
Yeah. Or, hey, I mean, if he's Andrew Vaughn, you could just start playing him tomorrow. Mike Leake didn't waste any time. He just became a major leaguer. If they're good enough, you never know. The White Sox would love a ready-made product to start joining their team in 2024. 2 more things I want to bring up and we can wrap this. Pedro mentioned me and Chris a lot in that presser. I thought one thing that was interesting was that he talked about how he wanted skilled fundamental baseball players, and we heard over the weekend, Chris Getz said that he wanted more athletes. So I know that Herb, you were like, I want to be more of a place of developmental, let's get players with, traits and let's develop them rather than let's get athletes and just hope they work out. What do we make of this? Is that different, language that these two are using? Is this concerning, or is it just, I don't know. I just thought it was weird that Chris Getz was like, I want athletes. And then, Pedro saying me and Chris want skilled and polished baseball players.
I don't know if it's any different, though. I don't think they're two different things. You can have a skilled player that also is a top-notch athlete. So
it sounds great, but you have to pay $20 million for those players.
That's the problem. They don't like to do those things. So yes, those are not the same. They can be existing in the same world. So yeah, get both. I think ultimately Chris Getz will be making roster decisions. Yes, with Pedro's, not blessing, but like his input. But at the end of the day, Chris Getz will be the person that everybody will blame or pat on the butt for saying who he thinks he's going to be in right field or in second base or catcher or the three starting pitchers. Like, I think that will be Chris's and part of his legacy. So I don't think he wants somebody else to influence that, especially a person that is in a lower position than him in the roster hierarchy. So yeah, he'll have his counsel and he'll take his input, but I don't think Chris Getz is going to be Pedro's guy and just parrot everything he wants to have out there. Within reason, he wants Pedro to have the people he wants, but also he wants to have a good team. And if he sees a different way than Pedro, I think Chris Getz will get his way to bring in the players that he wants.
I mean, I know Chris Getz answered the question about Pedro's future and his staying here for 2024 by talking about continuity and talking about it benefiting the players that they don't have another upheaval at the managerial spot. But also, Jerry said it was Chris Getz's decision on whether Pedro stayed or went, right? So you don't think Chris Getz made that evaluation and said, well, yeah, he's the guy I want. And so, of course, they're going to be on the same page. Of course, they're going to be in lockstep with the way that they want the future of the team to be, because Pedro's already made the decision Chris, has already made the decision that Pedro's the guy that he wants running the team. So it makes total sense that they would be on the same page when it comes to what kind of players they want, what kind of, to use a word that we've beaten to death, culture that they want, what kind of clubhouse they want, what kind of roster that they want. Herb's absolutely right. You don't have to be one or the other. I think people's history, as Herb, you brought up the other day, with, the preference the White Sox had for a while there to just draft whatever guy they could find that could wow them at the non-existent combine and then worry about whether they could play a position later. That history is influencing people's reading of that word. Chris Getz never said, I want athletes and I don't care if they can play baseball. He said, this team needs to get more athletic. Watch the game. They do. You know what I mean? They need to get more everything, basically. And so they need to be more skilled and more fundamental. They also need to be more athletic. So I don't think it's out of sync in any way to suggest that one guy said we need to get more athletic and the other guy says we need to get more fundamental. They're both right.
Thanks for clearing that up. No, that's fair. You could just see Andrew Vaughn. I mean, it seems like he's got a piano on his back and he's 25 years old. Like, I mean, how is this man so slow? I mean, he tries his damn hardest, but he's just so slow. We talk about Michael Kopech not having that stamina of a starter. Just be more athletic, be able to be longer. Thanks for clearing that up, guys. We're going to take one more break and then we'll wrap this thing up. We'll put a bow on it. Want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. It was a shady day today. It was a very cloudy day, hence no baseball. But take on the sun when it's out with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, until they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Again, go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Excited to have our friends over at Fubo TV back. They have 140 live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. You can stream live TV from any device. I'm going to be streaming Monday Night Football from Fubo TV in just a second, as I guess that game is underway. I also think it's a rainstorm in New Jersey, so we'll see. That's not Fubo's fault. You can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. You can start watching immediately with a free trial now at FuboTV.com/CHGO. There's no contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. And my favorite part is the 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. If you miss a White Sox game, maybe you're not recording them nowadays, but hey, maybe you missed the Bears game. You could watch that recording. Maybe you're a Cubs fan. You could watch that recording. They have Marquee. I'm just trying to plug all the great things that they have on Fubo TV, and you can check them out at FuboTV.com/CHGO. Watch all your favorite college football and the NFL with Fubo. Go to www.FuboTV.com/CHGO to sign up for 50% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Again, FuboTV.com/CHGO. Final thing, we are not in studio, but our studio is decked out with gear from our friends over at FOCO. Shout out to them and go show them some love at FOCO.com. That's FOCO.com, or click the link in the description below. You can get fit in the best sports gear around with our friends over at FOCO. They have hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. And since it's football season, you can go get yourself some checkered. What do you mean?
It's kind of football season. It's also still baseball season.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Oh, Jesus. You saw in the flesh, Herb, the gear from FOCO, the checkered overalls. So it's football season. You can go get your checkered overalls, the classic football attire. Anyways, go to FOCO.com, FOCO.com, or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Okay, I did solve it. The right fielder for 2024 and beyond, I think. How long is Luis Robert signed till?
28, right?
Okay. So 3-year deal. Okay. Before they got to sign him before January 24th. Because then he'll still be 34. But Whit Merrifield, come on down. I mean, come on. Former Royal, 3 years. Just match him up with Robert and Benintendi. You're going to get professionalism. And, hey, guys, 2 birds, 1 stone. He could play right field, yes, but he can also play second base.
You're saying that sarcastically, but that would be a good solve for the White Sox, especially because he can hit, too. No. But he also is old and will be very expensive.
He's Andrew Benintendi too, but he's just right-handed. I mean, he's got
it's an all-star this year, Sean.
Exactly. It's just like Andrew Benintendi was. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, Paul Blackburn was an all-star in 2022.
I mean, none of the other players the White Sox have were all-stars this year besides Luis Robert Jr. So I don't know what you want me to say.
That's fair. But real quick, but an OPS below 100, an on-base percentage below 330. This dude doesn't walk. I mean, he just screams White Sox. He's better than everyone on the White Sox, but hey.
He's natural White Sox. I mean, we know this is going to happen. And I know you guys poo-pooed my Salvi Perez. That's coming to happen too. They're going to bite the bullet and take the $20 million. Yeah, they're bad at their jobs. And so, yes, Whit Merrifield will be our right fielder / second baseman. And I guarantee in the press conference, they'll say Ben Zobrist or some garbage like that. Oh, you don't talk to Big Zobrist back when we won the championship. Shut up, Pedro. We're going to turn to the Royals next year, man. That's what we're doing. And yes, Whit Merrifield, 5 years past his prime, is going to be a White Sox next year. That's and when he comes here, he's not going to be the guy you remember. He's not going to be the triples guy. He's not going to be the 15 home runs guy. He's going to be a diminished Whit Merrifield. It's going to be Elvis Andrus for 3 years.
I'm just saying
this Elvis Andrus, not the one that showed up last year.
Sean,
Yes.
I can see,
Vinny?
and Herb too. I can see. I want to get out in front of this before the offseason starts, so we can set some ground rules about when you bring up a player that you might want or might not want to come to Chicago to play for the White Sox. They are 33 games under 500. Getting better, at least a little bit, is better than what they have. So they don't have to go out and sign every top 30 WAR player in the book. They just need players that are better than the players they currently have to increment themselves closer to first place. That would be a step in the right direction, whether you're thrilled about it or not.
I know, but we did the exercise. They need to fill out half the roster.
That they do.
They need to fill out like 13 people. And I just know that
they got to do it in the worst way possible.
On a budget.
Agency.
Yeah, on a budget.
Yeah. The worst way possible.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more White Sox. We got a doubleheader between the Royals and the Sox. 3:40 is the first game, and then it will start 30 minutes after the first game concludes.
Can I give a quick football update real quick?
Oh, geez.
I think all of our Bears fans are going to be interested in this, Sean. Just bear with me here. Aaron Rodgers is being helped off the field right now after a big sack. And Bears After Dark is at 8 p.m. I'm sure Greg Rags will be talking all about that.
All right,
I'm glad there was a CHGO plug in there, because interrupting baseball to talk about some guy who plays for the Getz, who gives a crap there, Steven? This I can swear, right? Who gives a shit? There you go.
Rare Vinny swear. I'm glad I came on for that.
Yeah. You know what? Those are my thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. Does he play baseball? Does he play in Chicago? No, he plays for some New York football team. Why are we talking about?
Leonard Floyd, Bears.
Yeah,
Bears
former
great.
Bear.
Knocked him out. So there we go. We'll see. I bet on the Jets, so I don't like that. That's Sailor Mouth Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at ActorWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. We appreciate everyone for hanging out with us during this off day / rain out theater. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.